sell it.
This'll change driving forever, Sergey. It's completely automated.
Are you sure?
Of course. You can really just let go and relax.
Okay.
Sergey, what you doing?
Well, you said it was automated.
No, the car insurance.
I check for new deals automatically. Oh, I see. Whoopsie. Make it your car insurance to automatically find ways to save. Simples.
Now, with all the stories making the headlines this Thursday lunchtime, it's the ITV News.
What took you so long? The Chancellor is heckled as he announces help for everyone with the rising cost of energy bills. Rishi Sunak said the measures are timely, temporary and targeted, paid for in part by taxing oil and gas companies.
We have decided that the £200 of support for household energy bills will be doubled to £400 for everyone.
Today it feels like the Chancellor has finally realised the problems that the country are facing.
Is the Partygate scandal over for the government? Now it's focusing on the cost of living crisis. Not yet. 3 Conservative MPs have now called for Boris Johnson to resign. We'll have the latest. Also ahead, the killer who came out of nowhere as parents in America question whether it's safe to send their children to school. For Arthur and Star, a promise of more protection for children killed by their own families after their relatives' concerns were ignored. Plus, before Beatlemania, the band unseen, these seaside snaps that could make one fan a small fortune.
This is the ITV Lunchtime News with Nina Hossain.
Good afternoon. The Chancellor has announced everyone will get government help with their energy bills. In what sounded like a mini budget, Rishi Sunak said every household will get £400 that won't need to be paid back. The poorest 8 million households will get £650 more, with extra money too for some pensioners and people with disabilities. How will it be paid for? Well, he was nearly drowned out when he announced a predicted U-turn on a windfall tax on oil and gas companies. The Chancellor called it an energy profits levy. With the details and reaction, here's our political correspondent, Carl Dinnan.
There has been so much scrutiny of the rule breaking in Number 10 that perhaps the government wanted to refocus our attention. Enter the Chancellor. But whatever you think about the timing of his announcement today, the content of it is substantial. First, how to pay for it. Labour have been calling for a windfall tax on oil and gas companies, and guess what?
Like previous governments, including Conservative ones, we will introduce a temporary targeted energy profits levy.
And here's what that will help pay for.
We will send directly to around 8 million of the lowest income households a one-off cost of living payment of £650.
As well as that £650 to 8 million of the poorest households, another 8 million pensioners will also get a one-off £300 payment, and on top of that, 6 million disabled people will get an extra £150. And there will be some universal help. The repayable £200 that everyone was due to get will no longer need to be repaid.
So for the avoidance of doubt, this support is now unambiguously a grant. And furthermore, we have decided that the £200 of support for household energy bills will be doubled to £400 for everyone.
Labour say they came up with many of these policies first.
After today's announcement, let there be no doubt about who is winning the battle of ideas in Britain. It is the Labour Party. Today it feels like the Chancellor has finally realised the problems that the country are facing.
But are his solutions enough? Peter is a single mum. Her son Blake has to be homeschooled, and she's increasingly worried about the cost of living.
I don't think it's enough. I think there's going to be further increases, and there's no clarity whether I would qualify or not at this stage. So although he's made announcements to hopefully reassure families out there, I don't feel reassured yet.
Although the windfall tax announced here today will raise £5 billion, the entire set of policies will cost £15 billion. The rest of the money for this substantial one-off package of support will have to be borrowed.
Carl, has he done enough?
Well, that's a question that's very difficult to answer at the moment because we simply don't know how much is ultimately going to be needed. We don't know how much further energy prices will rise. We don't know how much inflation is baked into the system now and how much prices will keep going up. So we don't know how long this cost of living crisis will go on for. Certainly what he's done is substantial. I mean, £15 billion worth of support is a lot. And he says that the poorest households, when you put this together with measures he's already announced, will get as much as £1,200 of support per household. So that is quite a lot of money. Some people will say that it's not enough. Some people will be saying, look, why are you giving everyone £400 when many of those households won't necessarily need that kind of help? Why not target it even more at the poorest? But there is no doubt that this is a very generous package, but it is not yet clear whether it will be enough. And that's simply because the challenge is absolutely huge and could yet get significantly bigger over the months and years to come.
Carl, thank you very much for that. Well, let's get more on this from the personal finance expert Martin Lewis. Look, more help is clearly coming. This is what you've been calling for.
Yeah, very much. I mean, first of all, we need to put this into context. We do actually have a pretty good idea what's going to happen with energy bills. Before last April, for somebody with typical use, and nobody's really on typical use, but it helps set the standard, the price cap was £1,271 a year. It's now £1,277 a year. It's now £1,971 a year. We're hearing from October, the 3-month price cap then will be around £2,800. And the latest analysis I've seen is the January price cap will be a similar level, and it might start to dip a little next April to around £2,600, £2,700. So these prices are going to stay for a long time. And that means a £1,500 year-on-year rise, which will need enormous intervention. And that is what we've seen today. I spoke to the Chancellor on Monday. I gave him a to-do list, if you like, of suggestions, which included universal credit and legacy benefit, urgent payments, help for pensioners, specific help for disabilities. And my big one was scrap the loan, not loan, and turn it into a grant. And frankly, he's done pretty much everything I said in that conversation. So as someone who spent the last 6 months spitting and screaming and saying people are going to have to choose between freezing and starving, and that we are in a catastrophic and disastrous situation, and trying to ramp up the pressure for action, I mean, actually, I think we've seen some real action today. Will it be enough? I certainly think it goes a long way for many people to mitigating some of the impact. We won't mitigate all of it. I mean, there is a universal payment of £400 here, but clearly that means for many people there's another £1,100 to find. And what you heard the Chancellor say in there, he talked about the excess savings that have been built up in the pandemic. He talks £300 billion. I think it's more like £160, £170 billion. Whatever it is, it's a shed load of money. And many people have put those savings aside because they were working from home for a rainy day. And what he subtly told us today is if you're one of those people and you don't fit into the other help categories, we'll give you something, but it's raining and you need to spend your savings.
Yeah, it's raining right now. On this part of the announcement that Carl mentioned, some criticism there will be about the fact that everybody, even a household that doesn't need it, will get £400. Briefly, what's your take on that?
Well, I was suggesting that he do exactly this, so I'm not going to criticise it. Look, the truth is,
Why?
what we needed was we needed a massive focus on the lowest income households, and there is a big redistribution to those lowest income households here. So that is one in a package of measures. But if we only focused on those on universal credits and benefits and disabilities and pension households, a £1,500 a year rise actually goes right up the income scale of how many people that is life debilitating for. You know, even people on good middle incomes will really feel £1,500 a year on energy alone, never mind everything else. Now, of course, you could look at means testing this. I'm not an economist. I can't tell you how expensive means testing is. But I think there are a lot of people going up the income scale who will need some help. Those on the very highest incomes, yes, they'll get it too. And some people have been saying, I don't want it. I want to help those on the lowest incomes. Well, if you'll forgive me, if that's the situation for expediency, there's a wonderful charity called National Energy Action. Donate your £400 to them and it'll really help with fuel poverty. But we needed urgent, quick and simple to enact policies. And first look, and I haven't dotted the I's and crossed the T's and read the terms and conditions. First look, this is going quite a deal of the way towards helping.
OK. Thank you very much, Martin Lewis, for your thoughts as the Chancellor has just announced that package of measures today. Thank you. And there is further help and advice on our website if you are struggling with the cost of living right now. That's at itv.com/news. The teenage killer who shot dead a classroom full of primary school children is still a mystery to the authorities. Salvador Ramos had no known mental illness and no criminal history. The city, struggling with the pain of his brutality, is also struggling with a lack of known motive, while Washington is paralysed, given America's division on guns. From Uvalde, our correspondent Robert Moore reports.
The children come to lay flowers outside of the school here, but there remains no clear understanding of what motivated the gunman, of why he would commit an atrocity on this scale in his own town, on the most defenseless citizens of all. Marie Sella lost a relative in the massacre and says she is simply unable to comprehend what happened.
It's devastating, it's heartbreaking. I mean, I know about every single person that we know the people who lost a loved one. I mean, it's such a small community that everybody knows everybody. We grew up with a lot of the parents of these kids, and I myself had a family member who lost a daughter, and I feel helpless. I'm lost at words.
The gunman was Salvador Ramos, just a teenager who had purchased 2 guns and hundreds of rounds of ammunition a few days ago, just after his 18th birthday. The focus is rightly not on this deranged killer, but on his victims, among them Alicia Ramirez, who had just turned 10. The balloons from her birthday were still up in the family home. She loved drawing and dreamed of becoming an artist. Leila Salazar was also 10. She loved to swim and run. She'd won 6 races at the school's field day, proudly showing off 2 of her ribbons in this photo. Washington remains paralysed, the president reduced to expressing his horror, nothing more.
When in God's name will we do what needs to be done to, if not completely stop, fundamentally change the amount of the carnage that goes on in this country? To state the obvious, and Corey and a lot of other people here, I'm sick and tired. I'm just sick and tired of what's going on and continues to go on.
It says something extraordinary about the state of the national debate, that President Biden is exasperated and helpless, that Congress is hopelessly divided, and that parents are left to ask the question, is it even safe to send their children back to school?
Exaria was in the school when the attack happened. Her mother says she's so terrified now, she is thinking of homeschooling her children.
I don't know if I feel comfortable with them going to school, because it could have easily been my daughter like it was everybody else's child. So I don't feel comfortable with sending my kids to school right now. I have to sit on that.
I mean, how is it that we've reached this stage where parents are terrified of sending their kids to school?
The gun law. It's the gun law. I blame it on the gun law.
Even the woman running to be the next Attorney General in Texas says she is terrified of what the future will bring.
When I found out I was pregnant, the first thing I thought about was I'm going to have to send her to school at some point.
That frightened you?
Absolutely.
And so America is mourning, knowing that even modest gun reform is beyond reach. Robert Moore, ITV News, in Uvalde, in Texas.
11 newborn babies have been killed at a fire in a hospital in Senegal. The country's health minister said the situation was extremely painful. The fire was blamed on an electrical short circuit. 3 infants in the neonatal unit were saved. The deadly fire comes a year after 4 other newborns died in a hospital fire in northern Senegal. Here, 3 Conservative MPs have now called on the Prime Minister to resign since the publication of Sue Gray's report into lockdown parties. One said it showed a shameful pattern of misbehaviour as the rest of us kept to COVID regulations, but the most serious charge was knowingly misleading Parliament. Let's get the very latest from our political correspondent Daniel Hewitt in Downing Street. Daniel, what can you tell us?
Well, Nina, over the last few weeks when you've asked Tory MPs whether or not they believe Boris Johnson should stay or go, many of them have said we're waiting for Sue Gray's report before deciding. Well, many are now deciding, and as you say, 3 more have decided the Prime Minister should stand down. Those 3 MPs are Julian Sturdy, David Simmons and John Barron. Now, you'd be forgiven for never hearing of those 3 Tory MPs, and that is part of the problem here for Boris Johnson. These 3 backbench MPs are not the usual suspects. They're not the household names we've come used to openly criticise Boris Johnson even before the whole Partygate saga. In John Barron's case, he's a Brexiteer. He was on Boris Johnson's side in the referendum a few years ago. But in a statement today, he said Boris Johnson has lost his support for knowingly misleading Parliament with his denials of rule breaking. He attacked a shameful pattern of misbehaviour at the heart of government during the pandemic, adding his repeated assurances in Parliament that there was no rule breaking is simply not credible. Now, why does this matter? Well, it matters because if 54 Conservative MPs submit a letter of no confidence in Boris Johnson, it will trigger a wider vote by the whole Conservative Party into whether Boris Johnson should stay or go. Now, right now, we've counted up around 18 Conservative MPs who have publicly called for Boris Johnson to go. How many MPs have submitted letters remains a secret. Only the chair of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady, knows that. I've spoken to some Tory MPs who say they're going to wait for 2 crucial by-elections in June in Tiverton and Wakefield before they make their decision.
Daniel Hewitt, thank you. Next, how were relatives of children who ended up being killed by their parents' partners ignored by the authorities? A review into the deaths of the toddler Star Hobson in Keighley and 6-year-old Arthur Labinjo Hughes in Solihull found in both cases concerns from family members were disregarded. The call now is for dedicated child protection teams to be set up across the country. Martin Stew has the details.
She was just like a bundle of joy. She was fantastic.
A rare moment of joy in a tragically short life.
I think Star would have still been with us today if they'd have listened in the first place and done the jobs properly.
Star Hobson was beaten to death by her mother's girlfriend. Her great-grandfather had flagged the abuse to social services, but they closed the case after being persuaded Savannah Brockhill was loving.
Pretty girl.
In reality, the amateur boxer had been beating the toddler.
We were screaming at them saying, look, she's like bruises, she's been neglected, and I just can't understand how these things were missed.
Arthur Labinjo Hughes was also killed by his parents' partner, who had relished making the 6-year-old suffer. Both children were failed by the protection services set up to save them. A major review published this morning found that in both cases wider family concerns were too often disregarded and a lack of information sharing led to weak decision making. It recommends creating dedicated child protection teams of police, healthcare staff and social workers in every council area and a national child protection board to coordinate policy.
What we're suggesting is some changes in the structures and the systems for protecting children, and particularly for investigating allegations or concerns that a child may be being seriously harmed in some way.
The report follows Monday's independent review of children's social care, which called for a total reset of council-run children's services across England.
We've had reviews in the past
This is a real opportunity for action. The government needs to step forward, resource support and prioritise child protection for the sake of children like Arthur and Star.
For these two, taken so young, it is too late. The government says it will learn from the report and implement a plan later this year. Martin Stew, ITV News.
The first cases of monkeypox have been confirmed in Wales and in Northern Ireland. The UK Health Security Agency is expected to update the total number of cases in the UK later today, but so far there are now believed to be 79 people who have contracted the disease. Next, one woman's seaside adventure with the Beatles that could make her thousands of pounds. Sandra Woodruff followed the band around Weston-super-Mare in 1963, taking a series of snaps and even getting into their hotel room. It was before the Fab Four went global, and now the unseen photos are up for auction. Here's Faye Barker.
1963 and the world woke up to the Beatles and went wild. But before Beatlemania kicked in, the Fab Four performed over 6 nights in a cinema in Weston-super-Mare in Somerset. Capturing these pictures of the band was Sandra Woodruff.
We watched them coming in and out of their hotel for hours. Got into their room, got into the room. I looked for something I could pinch that they wouldn't be too cross about. And in the wardrobe was a big pile of new Woolsey cotton Rebex briefs, all white. And in between, every now and again, was a big card telling you how you had to measure yourself. And I pinched that. Then 2 days later, I went down to Weston again and I took the card with me to get signed. And Paul McCartney said, "Aha, now we know who was in our bedroom."
Just a month later, the Beatles released She Loves You, which became their biggest selling single ever and was also the UK's biggest hit of the 60s.
And we would never have dreamt that how famous they were going to become, and to think that we just happened to be lucky enough to be there 2 or 3 months before you wouldn't have even got anywhere near to them.
Sandra's collection is expected to fetch around £10,000 at auction in Bristol tomorrow. She says now she's 75, it's time for another superfan to enjoy the memorabilia. Faye Barker, ITV News.
Just before we go, the Platinum Jubilee now has its own emoji. PJ the Corgi was unveiled by the royal family to help mark the celebrations next week. It'll appear whenever Jubilee hashtags are used on Twitter. And on Instagram, there's a winking version of PJ. There he is, as well as stickers people can use when they post about the Jubilee. The Queen is known, of course, for a love of dogs, and corgis in particular. She was given her very first, Susan, from her parents in 1944 for her 18th birthday. Romney Weeks will be here with the evening news at 6:30. From me and everyone on the team today, bye-bye.
Everywhere will be lovely and warm today. You might even be tempted to go for a dip. Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise sponsors ITV National Weather.
A very good afternoon to you. Breezy out there today, a good deal of cloud cover, clearer skies into tonight, ahead of better, brighter conditions into tomorrow. Much a better end to the week for many of us. This is the earlier satellite and radar picture. A lot of cloud cover through the bulk of Britain there. Some rain on and off through the Pennines, keeping it disappointingly dull and damp. Either side of this, a touch better and brighter, but some hefty downpours, blustery and heavy at times, working their way through northern and western Scotland. And here, feeling quite chilly given the time of year. Elsewhere, in shelter sunnier spots, highs of 22 degrees across the south. But all in all, a little disappointing given the time of year, particularly where we keep that drizzly, patchy rain. And some clearer skies here and there to end the day, but those hefty downpours continue well into the small hours across Scotland. A soggy start to the new day here. Elsewhere, misty low cloud giving way across the southwest to give us clearer skies into tomorrow morning, if a little chilly for those up bright and early. See you soon.
Heinz Seriously Good Mayonnaise sponsors ITV National Weather.
In stock and ready to go. Beautiful furniture with up to a third off. Available now. But hurry, the Furniture Village sale ends soon.
Since the dawn of dinner, we all know it can be healthier to
eat your veg. Oh. Eat your veg.
eat your veg.
Oh no.
And it can be better for the planet to
eat your veg.
With Tesco Meat and Veg mints packed with 30% veg, we've made it easier to
Eat your veg. I am.
good for you and better for the planet, as it has a lower carbon footprint than our 100% beef mints. Tesco, every little helps.
Dimmer switches, guaranteed. Plumbing, guaranteed. Tiling, guaranteed.
Tradespeople so good, we guarantee their work for a year.
At Tombola, play unique games like Bingo 60. There's 5 tickets per game with an equal chance to win no matter how much you stake.
I like Bingo 60 because you've got 5 different chances to win in the same game.
Play from 25p to £2 for jackpots of up to £20,000. Come join the fun at Tombola.
I'll get it in half an hour. Yeah, what else?
Living space, working space, storage space and more. Find your perfect space at tigersheds.com. Sale now on.
People think we don't get up to much at our age. Rocking slowly back and forth in our electric dual-motor riser recliners. Well, people couldn't be more wrong. I've got dolphins to swim with.
With Saga Insurance, we've got you covered. So you can spend your time doing, well, whatever you feel like doing.
James has collected a lot of clothes, like the go-to first date jacket. Good thing he discovered Vinted, where he sells what he doesn't wear, making space and money easily. He takes a photo, uploads it, and sets the price. With no selling fees, all the money is his. Don't wear it, sell it. Download Vinted.
I've got nothing to eat.
Nothing.
Hold on, I can do something.
Turning nothing into something.
Turning nothing into something.
I turn nothing into something.
It's amazing what you can do with nothing. And a little Hellmann's. Make taste, not waste.
Britain, EE have a great deal of broadband ready to deal out. Like our super fast 36 megabit fiber broadband, all powered by BT for just £27 a month. But wait, we're not stopping there. EE customers get an exclusive price of just £24 a month. And they'll also get 5 gigs of free mobile data. Want mega speed? Our 900 megabits full fiber can handle over 100 devices. So get fiber broadband from just £24 a month, but only until the 9th of June.
Good afternoon. First this lunchtime, the Chancellor has announced a new grant to help people with energy bills during the cost of living crisis. A previously announced £200 loan has been replaced with a grant that will not have to be paid back. It could increase up to £400. Before the announcement, people at a community cafe in Peterborough said the cost of living was challenging.
Energy prices have gone absolutely crazy, and if it's going to go up again, he's going to have one hell of a package today, otherwise so many people are going to suffer because of it.
This government will not sit idly by whilst there is a risk that some in our country might be set so far back they might never recover.
In other news this lunchtime, as the Jubilee celebrations get closer, Cambridge has welcomed royalty of a different nation this morning. The King and Queen of Sweden visited AstraZeneca's Discovery Centre to look at the company's pioneering technology. They were given tours of labs and new buildings. A new indoor training centre for Northampton Saints has been green-lit by the council. The High Performance Centre will be built near the club's stadium and will allow the squad to train all year round. Construction will start next month. It should be completed halfway through next season. A community garden in Northamptonshire is encouraging people to get outdoors to help improve their mental health. Volunteers at the Green Patch in Kettering grow their own vegetables and say the activity can also help to reduce stress and loneliness.
There is a lot of research at the moment carried out around the benefits of being in a green space, and it's been proven that green spaces helps with reducing stress levels and reducing anxiety.
A Cambridge college has lodged new plans to erect a memorial to wartime codebreaker Alan Turing within its grounds. King's College said the 12-foot sculpture will be designed by Anthony Gormley. Turing graduated from King's in 1934 and worked with a team at Bletchley Park to crack the Enigma code. And finally, it's congratulations to a Suffolk soldier who's completed a 24-hour paddleboard for charity along the River Great Ouse. Corporal Shane Hart finished the challenge in King's Lynn last night after setting off from Bedfordshire. It was in memory of his friend who died of brain cancer. Right, now let's take a look at the weather with Chris.
Greater Anglia sponsors ITV Anglia Weather.
Hello there, very good afternoon to you. So far today, after seeing some sunshine around this morning, it started to cloud over and that cloud will continue as we work into this afternoon as well. I think top temperatures today, the highest temperature likely to be in Hertfordshire, where we could be seeing 20 or 21 degrees Celsius, elsewhere 18 to 19, but also a